hear us. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star. I talk, but as I talk, I know full well that none of you are here for me. There are certain thirsts that I know that I cannot satisfy. I'm pointing downwards here to where the thirsting truly is. Because it is indeed Tony and Rudi Part 2 tonight. It's very exciting, and I'm so glad we could make it happen. So, welcome, of course. A beard for Ben. Oh, can I get a beard for Ben up in this one? No, the beard's too low. Oh, I'll tell you what, as it's a treat, as it's Eufids, I will do it. Bear with me a second, everyone. Let's put it in there. And let's turn. Oh, did it go? Oh, did it go down? Oh, no, who done that one?
Here we go.
Oh, have I got to get my guns out? Oh man, I'm getting carried away. I'm clicking the wrong thing now. You flustered me. There's a beard for Ben, but it's got to go bigger because he's big tonight. There we go. But let's get things out of the way. There's a beard for Ben, and I'll do some.
Well done.
I'll get the guns out. There we go, and then we can get started properly, can't we? Everything's good tonight. There we go. Everything is wonderful. That is how Tony looks in my mind. It's been 2 years since we last saw Tony. He's probably grown a beard in that time.
Oh, quite possibly.
But yes, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star. It is our Saturday night, which is our alternative night, I guess. And if you're new to the stream, welcome. If you're a regular, like Fids and Kelly and Spares, welcome back, of course, our dear friends. I hope you're all well. Please feel free if you want to join in on chat if you want. Feel free to lurk if you want. We love our lurkers. Feel free to hang around for the whole time, some of the time. Drop in and out, 5 minutes, Enjoy your evening. That's the main thing. We're here as one option for the rest of your evening. And if you enjoy it, hang around. When I say we, it's not just me. Although tonight I am the GM. I'm joined by two legends of the channel, quite frankly. One of the OG. We have to do that when there's OG. And one who apparently has the sexiest voice on the stream. So I've heard. So first up, let's start with the OG. It is the smartest man in any room, who lives his entire life, 24 hours a day, in the Twin Peaks dream sequence. It is Tony himself. Ben, how are you, Ben?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, very, very well, and eager and excited for this one.
That's what I like to hear. What was your highlight of the last episode, Ben, that we did together? Can you remember back that far?
I can, and truthfully, I think it was that weird bit just before we split up where suddenly everything seemed to click and we knew exactly what we had to do and how we had to do it, and it all just, it felt like suddenly a movie script.
That was a nice one, yeah.
I think you're right. I was picturing it in my head the whole time, but there was that point where I could see it like a movie. They give one last glance and a silent nod to each other as they go in opposite directions. Yeah.
Yes, it felt like comrades going off to war, didn't it? It was.
I would like to say kudos to our GM for the nice cuts towards the end. It was very cinematic.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it was good.
Yes. Fantastic. Cool. Thank you. And thank you. And with us, like I say, the man with the sexiest voice on the entire internet, who does the best accents as well in-game, who breathes life into Mr. 10-0 himself. It's late where he is, but he's with us still. It's John. How are you doing, John? Lovely to have you back.
Hello. Excited to be here and play Rudi once again and see what sorts of shenanigans this dynamic duo will find themselves this time.
What I want to know is who is the real you? Is John the real you, or is Rudi the real you, and you just play John?
Tonight, Rudi is gonna be the real me.
I've just given that so that the thirsty ones in the chat can click it and play it back to themselves later.
just throw them a rope.
Do you have a favourite part from last time out, Rudi?
Quite a few. I really like the ending, the charging up epic run across the wagon and the bull rush effect. That which of course led to the accident of Rudy. But and maybe Rudy perceives it as a more of a traumatic experience. But for me, for John, that was, I think, the highlight. And undefeated boxer. Yeah, those jokes were pretty solid.
You nailed it. You definitely personified him. It was an absolute joy, the pair of you, and it's made me look forward to this next one. So I guess I'll sort of introduce a bit more what we're doing, and then you can talk a bit about your characters, and then we'll get started, I guess. So what we're doing is we're using the rule set from Those Dark Places, which is a fantastic science fiction game, and we're throwing it into the 1930s, where it doesn't belong at all. And we've tweaked it a little bit, but I think it's proven that it's a rule set that works. I think it's not intrusive. You can play the game with the odd dice roll, and it works very well for that. So that's what we're doing. If anyone is interested in hunting it down, it's a great game. It's there up on my shelf, looking at me. So there's that. Last time we played a game that was set in 1935, and for reasons that will turn out in a minute, we're moving into 1937. And you may have noticed the screen is similar but different, whereas before we were on a train with coffee, we've upgraded to spirits, and they're going to be on a boat tonight. So there's a little bit of excitement for you, a little bit of a spoiler to come in early. The game takes place, like I say, in the 30s. Oh, Ben's got a drink. There we go, get him going early.
Thank you, socks.
He said he was only going to stick to one bottle of wine, Socks. Don't lend him down the dark alleys again. So, who are our main heroes from this adventure? The ones that survived last time and are back for more. Let's start with our resident Italian. Ciao, Ben. Who are you playing, and what is he good at?
Grazie. Tony Guerrero. He's a relatively young man in his 30s, still in his 30s, despite the clock rolling forward a couple of years. And an expert in antiquarian affairs, somebody who has done the grand tour around Europe, has worked in museums and archives, is cultured and skilled in ancient relics and artifacts. His sort of action credentials largely come from him having done a couple of years of compulsory military service years earlier. However, of course, he's also spent the last 2 years or so dining out around Europe on his famed, legendary success at foiling a cultist plot in Switzerland. Something for which he's developed a certain knack of regaling a crowd with this tale in such a way that they buy him drinks.
He's living his best life.
Absolutely.
That's what I like, making everyone buy him drinks. That is a good point.
We'll find out what he's wearing once we actually get into the game, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. Yeah, patience sucks, patience. It'll all come. It'll be a very clothes description heavy evening. Don't worry about it. John, Rudi, tell us more about our German hero.
I would like also to redescribe Rudi once we begin, because I feel that he hasn't been properly described. As for who he is, he's a man born in Germany. He's at his 50s now. Actually, I want to add some stuff that I just came up. Actually, he was born in a traveling circus. That's where most of his childhood is, and that's where he learned how to box from early teens. He became a knuckle boxer, and then moved into pro boxer, and then he spent like 5 or 6 years of his life when he was in his 30s. He was a heavyweight boxer, of course. He's a very big fellow. But yeah, descriptions later. As for background, yeah, after retiring 9-0 undefeated, he chose not to further harm himself with boxing, and began an interest in the academia, let's say, even though he was rather old for it. He wasn't properly educated when he was a youngster, but instead he has lived a full life of adventure, meeting people, exploring places, and then he got really into history and even into occult history, and eventually the combination of his charm, the polarizing figure that he is, his wits, and led him to meeting Tony, and then this is when the chain clicked and their adventures began, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful! And what a duo they are. What is Rudy good at, and what is he not so good at?
Um, he used to be a physical specimen, but now the years have gone by. He was defeated after all by Father Time. So his main and best attributes are his charisma and education skills, followed by his strength and agility, who is now at its lowest after the accident last time, the fight rather than accident. But his specialties are both in history and in boxing.
That's it. He's always
Quite a
remembered.
multi-class.
Exactly. I feel he's like one of those. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the matches where they do a round of boxing and then 5 minutes of speed chess and then a round of boxing.
Yeah,
That was right up John's. That's right up.
Probably
Rudy's.
he would be great at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are our heroes, and I suppose we need to find out what's been happening to them over the last 2 years and to set up the story. So I'd like you all to sit back and relax, and I'll lead us into this evening. So, if we remember, we finished off last time in 1935 on the Vienna Express. So, the year is 1935. It's 4 hours after the fateful events aboard the Vienna Express. On that day, museum curators and long-term friends Rudi Otto and Tony Guerrero made a name for themselves by saving Bern, many train passengers, and the surrounding citizens from a message sent by the cult of Artemis. Wishing to sacrifice famous archaeologist Monsieur Canard, the cult took charge of the luxury Vienna Express and set the train to full speed to ensure that both Canard and Bern burnt. However, due to the heroic actions of Guerrero and Otto, they were able to fight past the cultists and slow the train enough to avoid the planned death and destruction. Monsieur Canard was able to present his symposium, and the cult were unable to prevent what they considered to be his blasphemous presentation on Artemis and Greek mythology. While Tony Guerrero was being congratulated as a hero, the young Italian hired a car and sped off through the back roads to find his good friend Rudi, who had sacrificed himself by charging at the last standing cultist, sending them both crashing through the wooden slats of the mail coach and tumbling into the German countryside. After a few hours, and with a cry of celebration, he spotted his beloved colleague limping up the road, a handmade splint tied to his broken leg, covered in dirt and blood, but with a broad smile breaking through the grimace. 10-0. The year is 1936. It's over 1 year after the fateful events aboard the Vienna Express. Rudi Otto spent a year recuperating in a lakeside sanatorium in Geneva, his legs slowly recovering and his internal injuries treated and given time to heal. Guerrero visited when he could, travelling over every few months, taking time out from his work at the museum. During these meetings, they would sit in the grounds, taking in the fresh air and the vast, beautiful views of the lake and mountains, and they would plan their next great adventure, or Rudi would show off his boxing skills. An adventure they'd been discussing for over a decade, but one they thought would never truly find that final golden league to follow. However, blessed and cursed with all this free time, Otto had become obsessed with the whereabouts of this wondrous mythical item, much sought after by Africans and Europeans alike, and believed that he had discovered its hiding place. By the time of Guerrero's last visit to the sanatorium, the friends had already organised passage from the port of Marseille to the port of Casablanca in Morocco, and had put together file upon file of precious notes, letters and documents to aid in their search. They travelled together to Paris to finalise their plans. The year is 1937. It is nearly 2 years after the fateful events aboard the Vienna Express. Rudi, Otto and Tony Guerrero are sat in the upper deck moon lounge aboard the SS Cannes, a very small, very luxurious cruise ship, enjoying the last evening of their 4-day voyage back from Casablanca to Marseille. It's still early, the night is clear, the sun is just setting, the waters are still, and the going is smooth and steady, much like the golden liquid in their glasses. On the middle deck, which is the middle bit on the scrap there, carefully hidden in Tony's room, is the bracelet of Mary Magdalene, an item thought to be mythical, the stuff of legends, hearsay and rumour, believed to have been taken to and hidden in Morocco after the sacking of Constantinople in 1204. Legend says it was the bracelet worn by Mary Magdalene on the day of Christ's resurrection, and would provide the bearer with the direct ear of the Lord himself. Many had searched, many had failed, many had died searching and failing, but now Rudi and Tony has succeeded, and by 6 p.m. tomorrow they'll be docking at Marseille with the most incredible archaeological and religious find in centuries, if not in history. No wonder they're celebrating. Here's to you, my friends. Enjoy your special evening. The waiter, dressed in finery, a white waistcoat, gold buttons, a nicely done tie. His hair parted, creamed, puts down the tray. 2 large drinks. A little bow. Enjoy, sirs. Turns around on his heels and walks downstairs, leaving you to your drinks as the sun sets in the lounge bar. And that's where we'll begin.
Oh, well. So we're sitting here with drinks in our hands.
You are.
Cheers, then.
Cheers. Ah, superb. It is a real treat to have taken this trip with you. It really is, Rudi.
Oh,
I mean,
I've missed
either
this,
side of
Tony.
success. It's just been a joy.
Yes, I've missed this. I've missed our ventures together, more so now than ever with our Magnus Opus, our greatest one yet. The mythical beast that was eluding us for 10 years now, finally caught within our grasp.
It is a special moment, and I have you to thank for it. It was your determination, your research that led us down this path. It is going to be so tremendously exciting when we can present it to the world properly.
Yeah, you can see that Rudi has changed over those few years. He's wearing like something. What is the season we're in?
I would say the sunset is 7, so it's going to be the Mediterranean. So I think it's going to be spring. The first warmths of spring are coming through. It's a
Nice.
pleasant night, yeah.
He's wearing like a white suit, white pants, white round hat. Probably a very eccentric color that doesn't fit with white, like something like a burgundy vest when he's all white. He's like 6'1". He's not super tall for a heavyweight, but he has broad shoulders, still a muscular frame, even that he's at his 50s. Although he had a little bit extra weight before, now he's had a little bit more extra weight now, and his his boxer's jaw that has like very intense corners now has a second jaw underneath it, one more fluffy one. Because like this, when he looks down, he has a mustache, a very large mustache. Um, he's kind of red, from the sun. Probably he hasn't seen the sun that much lately, and now that he has at the beginning of this adventure, he's probably sunburned or something. Um, he's also holding a cane that supports his weight because he's moving with a limp these past few years after the fight, and although he has been training boxing, he doesn't seem to be very fond of using it anytime soon. He enjoys that moment of peace and triumph, and raises once more the his glass of champagne to the air towards Tony, and says, "Oh, geez! After all these years, yes, we've made it, Tony. Congratulations to both of us. Is in order."
Oh, it is. It is tremendously, tremendously rewarding. Every part of it, the sense of adventure of traveling to a foreign country to uncover something, the dream of being able to do something like this with a good friend, and the sense of accomplishment. And my brain is already racing about the reception we're going to get when we, already heroes in our own lifetimes, also unveil such a momentous find.
You seem to be enjoying this heroic prestige of yours, and you should. But pay no mind because I know much about fame and fortune when I was back in my boxing days, and this is the moment that you should be most careful of. They say that during your highest, you're the most vulnerable to the devil, dear Tony. That's what they say.
It's true. And I can't shake the feeling that watching thousands of Italian soldiers currently shipping their way to Spain to fight in a war, it's not going to be too long before those of us might be called up. And I'm hoping that I can achieve just enough fame and notoriety to be able to talk my way out of the draft.
Oh, I suppose that is one good way to escape drafting, but uh, if it comes down to any other way, I will help you figure it out then, by then.
Thank you. I may call upon you to break my knees or something.
I see you didn't say you wouldn't.
We can find something, a more suitable solution.
Possibly. And no, Kelly, 34 is the current age of Tony. Yes. Still within call-up age, I'm afraid.
Age is just a number for Rudi. He's
Yeah.
back.
Just a
It's true.
very big one.
Yes.
So as
Yeah.
the two old friends are sitting at the table, drinking, the camera we sort of see over Tony's shoulder as these two. You've been on the boat for 3.5 days. It's small. There's not that many people on it, so you've been getting to know people over dinner and drinks and shuffleboard and so on. Rudy's skill with a cane proving quite useful with the old shuffle pushing. He's found a skill he never knew he had. But two of the people you do know from the cruise have sort of come out behind through the door. So if you look at the lounge bar to the left hand side, the lines that sort of the stairs up, and out of the stairs and through the doors behind Tony's shoulder appears two young ladies who you know as two American sisters called Shirley and Stella O'Neill. They've sort of put on their evening gowns. They've got something over their shoulders to keep them warm. It's still spring after all. And they walk past. They give you a smile and a sort of a nice sort of a hello. They've taken two older gentlemen, especially Rudi, of course. They give them that smile and a giggle, and they walk up to the bar past the pianist playing. Stood by the bar as they ordered their drinks from the barman behind, again in his natty waistcoat, is an older gentleman, a retired colonel from England, George Hightower, Colonel George Hightower. George Hightower, retired, who's been sitting at that end. He's been harumphing a lot over the last few days, as British generals and colonels and majors often do, harumphing at the end. He's a splendid man. Likes his drink quite a lot, but don't we all? And the other people they walk past in the bar is an older couple in their early 60s, Robert and Mary Smith. They're charming, it must be said. Again, they are from the sounds of it, they're from the British Isles, and they've been perfectly charming. You had dinner with them one day, absolutely lovely. So you've got them in there, the barman, the pianist is playing. There's two waiters just alert at all times as needed. And that's who's in there at the moment in the lounge.
Okay, I'm gonna engage first with the waiter, and
yes, sir. How can I help you?
come here, my friend. I would like to make a very large order.
Oh, yes, sir.
Dinner time is coming up, and I need to increase my protein intake. I'm recovering from a severe injury. Perhaps you've heard of the burn incident a couple of years ago.
Sir, we have. It's been a blessing and a joy to have the two such well-known and well-respected gentlemen on the cruise with us.
Excellent. So he makes a very large order of steaks and whatnot. And afterwards says, Tony, I'm thinking of heading over to the journal and asking about the situation in Europe.
A worthy
To
subject
the
indeed.
colonels,
The
apologies.
colonel, yes, a worthy subject indeed. I will join you in that. Stand up and sort of gently straighten the legs of his Italian linen suit before walking over. He's cleanly shaven when he got on board the ship after letting his beard grow while he was in Africa. Still occasionally rubbing his face, slight sort of redness around the jowls. White cotton shirt under a sort of tan linen suit, and a cravat by Hermes.
Oh.
I don't know what that is.
It's
A
those
French silk loose tie around the neck.
Okay, yeah, I got it. I think I got it. Yeah.
So, as the two of you make your way over, the colonel turns. His eyes are already slightly glazed. He appears to have been hitting the sherries quite heavily today, as the last full day. And he turns around, he puts the sherry down, he harumps one more time. And he's like, my good friends, Mr. Guerrero, Mr. Otto, please come and join me at the bar, gentlemen, please. And holds out his hands to shake both of your hands if you wish to.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Cheers. Warm winds and hello, Colonel Hightower. How fare you this fine evening?
Oh, it's a splendid evening. It's almost a shame, I feel, that this cruise wasn't around the world. You know what I mean? I could enjoy it for months. And with such
Likewise.
with such fine company. And he gives you a nod, and then sort of gives a nod to the two young ladies at the bar. He says, "How about the two of you? Disappointed to be leaving tomorrow?"
No, can't say disappointed. In fact, we have been building towards that for quite some time and waiting for that moment.
Mum's the word, eh? Mum's the word.
As for me, everywhere I go, I'm always excited to see what's next.
Yes, of course. Well, lots of things happening. Lots winds of change around the world, I believe.
Well, there's the rub, isn't it? We are but corks tossed on a stormy sea at the moment.
I'll drink to that. Fine words. Fine words.
Rudy he's participating in the conversation, but also looking for the waiter, left and right, like maybe rubbing his tummy a bit.
Oh, sadly for you, the journey of the waiter is a long journey. They need to go down 2 flights of stairs and through into the kitchen. Still a little while to go, and there's no sign of that waiter who's scurried off.
Very well then, Colonel. What news from the marching of the soldiers that we're hearing of late all over Europe?
Oh yes, there's a lot of upheaval, But I've been told by intelligence that between you and I, there's nothing to worry about. A storm in a teacup, I believe the saying is. It'll all come out in the wash, you know. I would not be afraid, my young friends.
How about a sense motive towards him? Like maybe take advantage that he's drunk and try to check out his withholding and information.
Okay, do you want to do that in a sort of an investigative kind of way, or like a smooth talking kind of way?
Smooth talking, but make sure that he use my polarizing personality to make sure that he spills out anything, if he has anything to spill.
Okay. Could you roll make a charisma check for me then, please? We're going to do a
4.
Okay.
Plus 4, 8.
8, fantastic, and it's going to be opposed because you're rolling against him to see, because maybe he may be. So I need to check with him. So I need to check what his charisma would be. Okay, and then I'll roll. Ooh. Okay. He sort of leans on the bar, misses a little bit, re-leans again. Getting a bit choppy around here, isn't it? Like totally smooth sea.
Yeah, it's very windy. It's very windy. That's
right. Oh, dear me. And then he sort of leans in. He says, "Between you and me, there is some slight concern about the rum goings on in Spain at the moment, of course, and the talk is that could rumble on for an extra couple of years, which would not be the best of news. You may have noticed that Spain have returned the troops from Morocco. I'm sure you noticed there." He sort of turns to the two of you. And so obviously they're expecting much more difficulties than was first thought from those holding out. He sort of takes another stirp. And he says, "Wait a sec, I should be talking to you two about that kind of thing. Come, friends, no, let's talk of such things. Let's talk about other wonderful things. You at the piano, play a new song." And you notice that he sort of hardens. He's still friendly, but he sort of hardens up that line of conversation, I guess.
Yeah, I just give a good glance at Tony, raise an eyebrow, like I think he gets it, and then say, "Yes, a new song, Colonel, excellent choice." And maybe sing the first lyrics of the song with him. Oh, no, but then, move backwards and let him do his thing, and, maybe buy him a drink as well.
Oh, very good, sir, very good. Pours drinks, more drinks for all. Of course, on a cruise, you've just got a tab going that will be mailed to you when you get back home at some point, of course, with terrifying numbers on it. But that's for then. This is for now. and the drinks come, and there's some happiness. And just as you're chatting away, the waiter brings over to the table you were sat a very large platter of food, a bottle of wine to go with it, 2 glasses. Starts setting the table with the silver service, and invites the two of you over to the table. "Sirs, your pre-meal meal is ready."
Yes, finally.
Excellent, thank you.
How about my egg whites? Have you brought my egg whites?
Oh, so I'm so I'm so sorry, sir. I'll be back quickly, please. I'm sorry. And he sort of scurries down the stairs, almost tripping over as he goes.
Kein Problem. Kein Problem.
So as he goes, the sort of the other waiter that's waiting, as waiters do, walks over very nicely, and he uncorks the wine in front of you, swirls around a little bit into your glass, Rudi, to let you try, to see if you're happy with it.
He's more focused on the steak that he's already packing down.
So he sort of pauses and then pours Tony a little bit as well, because he knows that's the man with the wine brain. There you go, sir.
The Italian, of course.
Grazie, perfetto.
And then he sort of he fills your glasses up with sort of a nice sort of half full glass. Leaves the bottle, checks everything's okay, and he goes back over to the bar to take on the next orders. So you're only 4 mouthfuls in, Rudi, when another member of the crew comes hurtling up the stairs, puffing and panting, looks wildly around the room, and charges over to your table, tripping slightly, not stopping in time, and knocking into the table, causing your steak to sort of to fall off onto the table, just as you're about to eat it, much to your chagrin.
Wait, agility roll. I have to cut the steak.
And even worse, knocking Tony's glass of red wine over into his lap. Hey, Ali, you all right?
Again?
Oh, sir, I'm so sorry, sir. So sorry. Let me. And he gets the napkin and tries to like dab at your crotch area with. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. It's fine, suit. So I'm so sorry.
Oh, this is.
What is the meaning of this?
How far am I from my cabin?
So the two of you, your cabins are, and I've got the numbers for it. If you can see the numbers on the thing.
Yep.
So the 1 to 10 are the nicer cabins. They're the ones where you walk out straight onto the balcony and see the sea. They're the nice cabins. And then you've got downstairs next to the toilets and the kitchen, B1 to B6, which are the cheaper cabins. A few of these are double cabins. You two are in your own cabins. Rudi, you're in cabin number 8. And
Okay.
Tony, you're in cabin number 9.
Okay.
They're both single cabins, but they're a nice size. And he sort of says, I'm sorry, sir, but I've got some very important news. I'm sorry. Do you mind? Are you happy to take it here? He sort of leans in a little bit conspiratorially, closely. It's very important, sir. Very important.
Is anybody else around?
The Colonel and the 2 young ladies are up by the piano. The girls are sort of leaning on it, singing along, and he's harumphing near them and sort of wobbling slightly. The older couple have wandered out onto the moon deck to watch the last vestiges of light twinkling on the surface.
So basically, it's pretty safe. You can say anything he wants without being, scribed
Is
upon.
there a little bit of engine noise that might help to disguise things? as
Yeah,
well?
just about enough. Yeah, with between the
Okay.
piano, the hum, and that, it's very unlikely anyone would hear you.
Well, what are you waiting for? I say. Then let's eat a little more of the steak,
I
even
would
if
say
it has
spill
fallen on the
There's very
ground.
little left for you to spill.
He says, sirs, I was just walking past your cabins, and I believe Mr. Guerrero's cabin. The door was ajar. The lock appears to have been smashed, and the room has been ransacked, sirs.
Oh my god!
Mm,
That's where I keep my
Ben-
shirts.
yeah, Tony. Actually, I want to ask the GM. Isn't that the location of our artifact?
Yeah,
I guess-
the bracelet of Mary Magdalene. Yes,
Yes, I guess Tony has it.
yes, he does. Yeah. He said he would be able to hide it somewhere very, very well, and you trusted him.
Rudi enters a mode of fast thinking. You can see his eyes looking around very fast at the colonel, at the American ladies, back at Tony. But he makes that notion to to Tony, like you shouldn't do anything right now. Eats a little bit of the steak while thinking, okay, let us investigate. But I think we are in a situation where it favors us. If somebody, I crouch to Tony, so he will be only one hearing, whispering. If someone steal the bracelet from us, there still must be here. But we shouldn't rush into conclusions. But we should rush into your room right now and figure out what's
Absolutely.
going
Well,
on.
my wine is spilt anyway. There's nothing keeping me here. so, so yes, I leap to my feet and set off as briskly as possible without actually sprinting. I'm not looking to draw undue attention.
Could you roll
Uh,
an agility for me, please, Tony? Please.
Certainly can.
Not to suggest you're not anything over. It's just whether you're going to draw undue attention.
That's a 3 plus 1 is a 4.
3 plus 1 is a 4. Okay. As you pull yourself up, Tony, and sort of try to do that sort of bit of fast walking and moving, the colonel turns around and rather loud voiced going says, "Oh, are you leaving so soon? Is dinner ready already?"
My suit. I need to change.
Oh, that's dreadful. Yes, of course. And he turns back to the girls and joins them singing badly to whatever song's on the piano.
Okay. So I shall skip down the stairs as briskly as practicable.
Okay, fantastic. You going with Rudi?
well, I'm not going any fast. I have a cane and stuff, so I want to reserve my stamina. I also wait for my egg whites. I have to have my egg whites before doing anything else.
So, in fact, Tony passes, as Tony runs down the stairs onto the middle deck, he does pass the waiter bringing up the egg whites, desperately panting and mumbling to himself as he rushes up. So, yeah. So, Tony, you make it onto the middle deck. As you come down the stairs...
Yes, I pass the waiter. I'll yell at him. Quickly! Nobody's thrown them anywhere yet. And make my way down to the cabins, spilling down the companionway down the side directly to number 9.
Fantastic. As you get... All the other rooms are very much closed. There doesn't appear to be any noise coming from them. People are very much out for that. It's just a couple of minutes before dinner, so everyone is dressed ready. You know, they were getting a drink at the lounge bar or at the day bar or going early to the dining room. You pass someone else you know. There's 2 people playing shuffleboard, the last sort of game of the day while the light's still kind of okay. There's an actor on board, a French actor, who you've spoken to a couple of times. He sees himself like a bit of a big shot. His name's Jean Durand, Durand, and he's with his girlfriend Camille Moulin. So it's Jean and Camille, and they're playing shuffleboard together. She's making a real hash of it, but he's sort of being very encouraging, I guess. And you just see that as you flash past. Barely, they're lost in each other's love. They don't pay you any heed.
Okay, fair enough. Do I spot anything unusual about them other than the fact that they are clearly in love and being lunatics, as all lovers are?
No, they're very much exactly like that. They're
Okay.
just you've seen them act this way for about 90% of the trip.
Excellent. Then I shall skip past them and keep going to number 9, please.
Okay, fantastic. So 6, 7, and 8 very much appear to be locked and dark. Each of them has a small window on the door and a small window, I guess. Both of which are always have the wind down shutters that you can have. So they're wound down so you can't see in. All seem to be. You can normally tell if someone's inside because of a glow, but there's no glow, so they appear to be empty. Oh, no one in there. You get to number 9, and it does appear to be a jar.
All right. Before actually entering, a quick examination of the lock, please.
Okay. Could you please roll for me an education, and you can give your engineering bonus for it.
Okay, that's education is 4, engineering is my +2, so that's 6, +5 is 11.
Okay, fantastic. So what you can tell from it is it appears to have been a forced entry through something more like a crowbar than lockpicking. There's sort of, you can see on the floor the remnants of some sort of like wood chippings, where it's been splintered a bit. The lock is a bit scratched at the inside edge, and it's definitely and the door frame is bowed. That's not locking again for the journey. Yeah.
Okay. Can I hear anything in the cabin? I mean,
roll a. I don't know what we'd do with this. Probably an education, I guess. No, I could go. Yeah, education.
okay. That's 5 + 4, 9.
Okay. You hear nothing. The low hum of the engine, the swooping of the sea. The giggling of the young couple. Rudi, booming voice in the background, talking about eggs.
Egg white.
Exactly, but nothing in the room.
Quite right. The cabin door opens inwards?
Yes, it does, yeah.
All right. How dark is it on the deck?
You can still see expressions. They've just started. So on the undercarriage of the walkway, they've got the little lights set in, which have just plinged on in probably about the last 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see pretty well, to be honest. You can make out expressions, people.
All right. And the cabin is gloomy. The lights are out in there.
Yes, there's a light switch in there, but yeah,
right.
It's not.
Then in that case, I'm going to stand the hinge side of the doorway a little.
Mm-hmm.
Put my hand against the front of the door and push very firmly to swing it open fast. Lining up sort of just my left eye, if you like, peering round the door jamb to see what's inside the room.
Okie dokie. Roll a strength check for me, please.
Oh, this is going to go brilliant. My strength is 2. Oh, that's not too bad. Another 5, so 7.
7?
Not terrible.
Okay. You sort of push against it firmly. The first time it doesn't, so you have to put a little bit more effort into the second push, I guess. Looking a bit less casual. The door bursts open is the wrong word, but you manage to force your way in, and you can make out that the reason why it didn't open fully is because it appears that in the ransacking, the wardrobe thing has sort of fallen a bit against the wall, against the door at some point when it was sort of jamming it a little bit. But you got it in, you pushed it over, you're in.
Okay. The place looks ransacked, you say, turned over.
Yes.
Is that like generally turned over, or does it look as if they knew exactly where they were going?
Roll for me an education check.
That's 4 + 4 is 8.
Ah, nice. So, I guess there are certain areas where that, from what you can tell, there was more focus on. So, for example, it appears the mattress has been lifted, the pillow's been turned out, as if something was being looked for, I guess. The wardrobe, which would be knocked over, had been turned out. Your spare pair of white linen trousers are sodden from a bottle of port, which has smashed. All over the clothes you were going to wear tomorrow. Your grand landing clothes that you were going to walk off.
God, Europe has never known such suffering.
This always happens.
There's a
This
few,
is the worst thing that has ever happened in all of human history.
the writing desk that's there has sort of it appears that the little locked compartment, you're given a little lock to go with your writing desk, that's been ripped open, and worst of all, for you, for certain reasons, there was a little vent at the back of the room which was screwed in. That appears to have been opened up, and the screws have been taken off, and there's a little gaping hole there, which puts a little bit of panic into you. And I think you can probably guess why.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to push the door slightly too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need it fully shut, but closed enough that someone can't look in. And then I'm going to make my way over to that little vent, because, as Kelly says, I fear that someone has stolen our screws.
Yes, the screws are missing. Da, da, da. Okay. So you make your way over to that, sort of edging your way carefully through the mess. You've got, you'd made lots of files about your research and your findings and things that you'd carefully bound up. They're scattered as sort of from the writing desk. That's what had been pulled out of the writing desk. So that's sort of scattered everywhere. Hours of work in the evenings when you'd sort of turned in, just all jumbled now. But could you roll an education on that for me, please?
Yes. That's not so good. 1 + 4, 5.
Okay. It doesn't. There's still papers there. There's still some papers there. There's still some folders there. It doesn't. There's it's not like everything's gone missing. That's all you can tell. You make your way to that vent, and you're staring into the abyss.
Nothing in there.
It's very dark, and it was placed at an arm's length back.
Okay, then I'm going to very carefully, so I don't accidentally knock it further deeper in, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Reach all the way back until I can assure myself that it's either there or not.
Right, I'm not going to make you roll anything because this is something you've done, and you know what to expect and where you would expect to feel this item. You grasp at thin air.
Okay, I'm going to recover, stand up, quickly check how much of my alcohol is left.
Are you wanting to drink it from the bottle, or are you happy to suck it off trousers?
I'm gentleman, so it's whether, I mean, a bottle of port is gone, but is the Madeira still intact? The whiskey?
Yes, the Madeira was on the writing desk. It was you'd taken to having a couple of tipples of it while writing your notes for the day. That is still intact. There's about a quarter of that bottle left.
Okay. Then I'm going to grab it firmly, the Madeira, and make my way quickly back up to the lounge bar.
Okay. The young couple are still. You can, as you get there, they're gone. You can hear her rather obnoxious laugh from the dining room, so you'd assume that's where they've gone. But it's all empty on deck. You run up the stairs, up to the lounge bar, to find just Rudi and the older couple.
Um,
When did the American girls left?
They would have probably left. Let's say that whole thing for Tony was probably realistically it'd be somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, I would imagine, depending on how. They probably left about 3 minutes before Tony got back. He sort of he'd slung an arm around each of them, and they just like played it off like silly old man, and they went down together to the dining room from what you could tell.
Well, in the meantime, while Tony was gone, while finishing his supper, of course, um, Rudi was being very observant of the rest of the crew and trying to, because the last time it was the crew
Of
of the
course.
ship that got us. So, uh, of course, it's his first initial thought, but then following that, he checks out the American girls, what time they're leaving. He's trying to remember which time did they come up, and which one was missing when in his mind, he's for some reason he has a hunch that the bracelet of the Mary Magdalene is already stolen.
Okay.
So he needs but he doesn't want to show it that we know that it is stolen then.
Okay.
And then when he sees Tony, naturally he goes towards him.
Okay. So Rudy, first of
Which
all,
is-
would you like I can give you a time frame of who came and went in which order from the lounge while you were there, if that's helpful for you, Rudy. Is that what you mean? So you know who's coming and going?
Yeah, that
So-
would be helpful.
So when the two of you got up there, the general was there. The general was there already. Then it was then the two of you came up, and as we joined you, just as you were taking your second drink up there, the older couple had come up just before that. So it went the general, then the two of you, then it was Robert and Mary came up next, and then of course we know the two sisters came up. That's Shirley and Stella, and we know they came up. I was gonna say it's probably going to be about 15 minutes after you got up there. And then after Tony left, like I say, it was the next to go were the girls and the colonel. About 3 minutes before Tony came back.
Maybe when Tony comes up, Rudy's already like interrogating a waiter. Like, what do you mean it takes 20 minutes for those egg whites to boil? Where were you before?
when Tony arrives back in the lounge, he'll stride immediately over to Rudi, pick up the glass that was spilt and tipped over, straighten it on the table, fill it with Madeira, plonk the bottle of Madeira down next to it, and take a decent swig before turning to Rudi and saying,
Tell me that you didn't find any deer masks.
no deer masks, but also no treasure.
I had a hunch that you would say that. Do not alarm yourself, dear Tony, because let me tell you a story. And it's not going to be one of my boxing stories. It's going to be, I will take you further back into my childhood when I was traveling. Remember, I was raised in a traveling circus, right?
Mm.
During one long voyage to Siberia, somebody stole a watch while we were on the train from somebody on board. And I remember one of my mentors in the circus told me that man who stole that watch was a fool because he was in a train. He was nowhere to go. So the only thing that they had to do is to find him before the next stop. So I'm wondering now, how long do we have until our next stop in this ship?
Well, officially, we dock in Marseille tomorrow. But ultimately, how long we have depends on whether or not we've, used your stick to break the engines.
No, no, no. I think that won't be necessary. Perhaps it's a matter of figuring out who and why. Who would know, first of all, that we're carrying? I assume that none of us, to the GM, I assume that none of us we were talking about what we have on with us. Our precious 10-year quest. It wasn't the subject of
No.
conversation for.
No, you were. So you're both famous enough. So obviously the Colonel knows you. Word has got around. The crew knew. The word's got around that you about what happened 2 years ago. And you've told a few stories over dinner times and over drinks about, we were in Morocco, we're just sort of looking, just having a nice trip together, looking at old antiquities in the markets, looking for something interesting, doing some travelling while, get first chance to go travelling together again. And that people seem to be like, yeah, these are two old, these are two old friends. They're into their, archaeology and they're into this and that. So from what you can tell, you've taken it face value.
We haven't mentioned anything about the bracelet to anyone.
Not
right?
at all. You're far too smart to be boasting about that kind of thing at this point. Yeah.
So I turn to Tony. Since we haven't, nobody knows about and I make this gesture, just that. Who would know, and who could have done it?
Your argument is well taken. This is not just a crime of opportunity, it's a crime of information. Looking at my cabin, it was ransacked with a specific objective in mind. Perhaps two objectives in mind. The person seems to have been devoted to, yes, two things. Destroying my best pair of trousers.
Oh no!
And stealing the item. So here is a fair question. It may be easier to work out who would have known what they were looking for than to work out who had opportunity to break the door. However, I have a bit of a thought to get started at least. When I went down, there were a couple of young lovers, the French people.
I've seen them. It is Jean and Camille. Yes.
Yes, they'd been playing shuffleboard on the deck. Now, depending on how long they were there, and it was getting dark, so it was the end of their game. Depending on how long they were there, it's possible they might have witnessed something. It might be worth having a word with them, see if they saw anyone coming and going.
Or maybe they did it.
Well, that's possible. I don't know what a Frenchman would do in these circumstances.
As you're chatting, I guess the head waiter, who takes charge of sort of the meals, announcing the meals and so on, he comes up the stairs. And he sort of looks around and he says, I'm glad, please. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Mr. Otto, Mr. Guerrero, dinner is served. We're waiting on your presence, if that's okay. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you're with the Colonel tonight. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful time together. They sort of half wince at each other and pull themselves up and follow. And then he turns to the two of you and said, Mr. Guerrero, Mr. Otto, you're sat with, I believe you've not sat with these before, Mr. Ruiz, the businessman, and Mr. Hassan. Mr. Hassan. You'll get on splendidly. He's a dealer in antiquities. We'll have a lot to talk about.
Our specialty.
Is he? That's oddly specific. Thank you. He's in acquisition.
He's in acquisitions.
I'm going to ask the. I'll give a quick nod to Rudi to sort of imply that maybe we should go down and at least begin quietly talking to people. But
Yes.
but as we get up, I'm also going to say to the head waiter, my cabin has been destroyed, my trousers ruined, my wine shattered. Someone broke in and caused an awful mess.
Oh, so terribly. That's shocking. Shocking news. I was told someone's cabin had been broken into. Would you like us to send a team to clear it up for you?
That would be appreciated. And if they could arrange to repair the trousers, that would be good.
Of course, sir. I'm terribly sorry. Anything we can do for you now? This is terrible news. I'll speak to the captain. I'll speak to all those with authority on the ship, and I hope that we can find out what's happened. I hope nothing's gone missing, sir.
Nothing of note.
Oh, that's good. Okay, sir. Thank you. I'll put a team onto it immediately. Please come and enjoy dinner. I hope we can lift your mood.
Well, thank you. I shall clutch the remains of my precious Madeira and head down to the dining room.
Okay. As the two of you enter, it's a lavishly appointed dining room. It's got crystal chandeliers in the ceiling, a couple of large crystal chandeliers, some smaller lights around the side, very large windows, the largest on the ship, to look out at the ocean. Which again, the stars. It's too bright for you, but you can see sort of the moon is coming up. It's coming into focus. It's a crescent moon, so not throwing as much light as you might hope. Everything's quite gilt in there. At the far end of the room, there's I forgot what they're called, where you can bring up food from a lower surface. A dumbwaiter, where food from the kitchen is loaded into, and it comes up, and then is taken from there. It's Ben's turn to drink. on the Madeira, perhaps.
On the Madeira.
So as you get up, you can see a whole scurry of waiters in their finery, sort of going to the dumbwaiter to gather plates. There are 4 round tables, I guess, sort of dotted, zigzagged down there. At the far end, you can see the Colonel sitting already, being quite loud, and you can see Robert and Mary sort of nodding to him and sitting down. And you're at the table nearest this end of the doorway. And there's 2 empty spaces next to each other, like as you can on a circle, 2 sides of the circle. And then on the other side is indeed Manuel Ruiz and Ahmed Hassan, who are sat there, not really chatting. Small talk, I guess. Not friendly, but small talking. And both seem kind of relieved for newcomers to arrive.
We haven't met these 2 before, is that right?
You've small talked as you're sort of passing each other, but you've not had big conversations with these 2, no. Part of the reason would be that Ruiz keeps himself to himself. Not shiftily, but he's just not a flamboyant man.
And is Hassan from Morocco or somewhere else?
He is. He's from Morocco. He's on the soft drinks, as he has been the whole passage.
Then in that case, I will force my my face into a smile, despite my concerns and worries, as I walk over, and say, Senor Ruiz, Monsieur Hassan, and join them.
Maybe I will go then to Robert and Mary Smith.
Okay,
and check them out.
There is still a space at that table if you would like to sit with those for a moment.
And maybe for starters, I sit above them, raise a glass and say, to the hero of Bern, Tony Guerrero.
The hero of Burn.
The hero of Burn. Robert Smith has drunk a number of
Maybe
times.
check out the crowd who's making a toast. Maybe who's purposely not making that or not raising a glass.
Okay, it's a miss. I can run through who was, and because I can tell you about some other people in the room as well, which might be helpful.
Yeah, that
It's
was
not a huge cast of characters, but
Rudy's checking out everyone.
so starting at the Colonel. The Colonel never misses an excuse for a toast.
Yeah, of course.
So of course he'll drink to that. Robert and Mary both do. Mary rolls her eyes slightly because Robert has got far too into the toasting the heroes, and it's supposed to be a nice quiet cruise of the two of them. At the next table down is the actor Jean and Camille. They're not really paying attention to the toast. She's sort of giggling into his shoulder, and he's sort of I don't know, one of his hands. I can't quite tell what one of his hands is doing under the table. They are at a table with with the American sisters, who do toast. They toast. They're sort of again, they're well away with it. They're smiling. They're happy. Yes. They sort of smile at Tony. A big beam to Tony. The next table down are who have we got? So there's a couple that are on honeymoon. Called Alex and Carla Lebert, Llobert. Alex and Carla Lebert, Llobert. They will toast. They seem to have been having quite a pleasant time, and they will toast. Not enthusiastically, but they'll toast.
Mm-hmm.
They are with a man called Gonzalo Arrondo.
Mm-hmm.
And a man called Hugo Fischer, Fischer.
What's their deal?
From what you can tell, you've not spoken to Hugo. Hugo has one of the B rooms. He's down
The what? The B rooms.
If you go to the bottom floor, B1, he's next to the toilet. He's in the cheapest room on the ship, basically. Gonzalo Arrondo, you had a chat with him and you found out he was a cartographer. He travels around the area to draw beautiful maps.
That's a life, isn't it?
Oh, it's not too bad. You ran into him in Morocco, in fact. He was sort of sketching. He'd gone. He wanted to spend the time in Casablanca sketching some maps there. And then at your table, you've got Tony, you've got Manuel Ruiz, the businessman, and you've got Ahmed Hassan, the dealer in antiquities, who both. Ahmed raises his glass of orange juice, and Manuel doesn't really pay too much attention. He kind of half does it, but he does nod at Tony.
Okay.
And that is all the that is all the passengers.
All right. I'm going to wait until my order's taken before I start mingling, because my pre-dinner food was interrupted. So I'm not going to miss out on the order coming around.
Well, the starter, as always, is chef's choice, which today is oysters. Some are raw in the shell, and so you sort of get a couple in the shell, and you get a couple that have been prepared, have been gently baked for you and prepared. The main is a beef Wellington, or it's sort of almost like a chicken cassoulet, almost. Quite hearty food.
Oh, beef Wellington, I feel, for the main. Yes, oysters to start, beef Wellington for the main. That sounds good to me. I shall place my order accordingly.
So, And Rudi, are you going chicken or beef?
Rudy is actually filled up because he just had steak. So he's focused on the investigation rather and says, just a cup of tea then.
Oh, the waiter's a bit surprised. Oh,
You look surprised, I say,
Mr.
to
Otto.
the waiter.
A cup of tea, Mr. Otto. Well, yes, very, very, very good, sir. The customer's always right.
There you go.
I hope you're.
I hope you're not fond of Greek mythology, are you not?
Oh, no, Greek what, sir?
I give him a look at this, and then carry on then.
My order placed, I shall sort of nod an acknowledgement to my table, and then get up and wander over to visit our French lovebirds.
Ah, yes.
Nice.
Who don't notice you until you're almost literally on top of them.
Okay. I will walk up between them, holding a glass of Madeira in my hand, and just clear my throat, self-importantly.
Roll a charisma, please.
I shall.
See how good that cough is.
Oh, it's not good. It's a bit consumptive. That's a 4 total. 1 plus 3.
So you sort of cough, but you get a bit of a back belch and a bit of acid reflux. And one of the American sisters, Stella, looks up at you a bit. Are you okay, Mr. Guerrero?
I've had better days.
Oh man.
I was hoping to ask you a question or two, if I may.
Okay. I'm not going to put on an American accent, so I'll try my best.
I saw you two playing shuffleboard just before dinner.
The boyfriend sort of half shoots you an eye. He was like, yeah, we were playing shuffleboard. I don't know the rules. We were trying.
And I'm sure, you've been preoccupied with each other. I'm sure you're having a lovely, lovely time travelling together. If not, you're doing it wrong. But I did want to ask if you noticed anything suspicious or anyone coming down the companionway on the starboard side of the ship, just aft of the shuffleboard area.
Okay, could you roll? We could do 2 checks. Okay, we're gonna roll a check on Jean and on Camille.
Okay.
Can that make sense? So can you roll a charisma for... And it's going to be opposed.
Sure. Charisma for Jean.
Charisma for Jean, please.
Story of my life. I roll a 6 when I'm trying to chat up a bloke. That 6 plus 3 is 9.
Okie dokie. And could you roll for Camille, please?
That's 5 plus 3, 8.
8. Okie dokie. And I'll roll from that. Okay. Camille sort of half looks up at you, and she's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Guerrero. My attention was on other things. And she sort of leans in to Jean's chest with her head and sort of rubs his chest a little bit and goes back to a bit giggling. Jean, who's like clearly enjoys the chest rubbing, does manage to look up at you for a bit. He says, "Yeah, we were there for. I think we were playing for about 20 minutes, and I saw a few comings and goings. From where we were stood, I could only see people coming and going down. Oh, you're on the you're like number 7 or 8 or something, aren't you? Somewhere down that side.
9, in fact.
9. Oh, I saw. There's a few people that headed down there over that time, down that side. I can't see the other side, but yeah, I saw a few.
Can you remember who they were at all?
Let me think. Well, there was and he sort of smiles and he says, "Well, of course it was these two lovely sisters." And his smile turns to a grimace as you hear a thump under the table as Camille has like kicked him in the foot with her heel, potentially at the word "lovely" being uttered about other women. He's like, "Ah! No, they don't hold a candle to you, baby. Don't hold a candle to you." He's like, "Yeah, these two are there, but..." And the girl's like, "Yeah, our room's right there. We were just getting changed." He's like, I saw, you know that couple that, what's that? You were speaking to him the other day, Camille. The guy on his honeymoon. I said, "Oh, Alex, yeah, Alex LeBear, yeah, he came past. He seemed in a hurry." So, and there's that other guy. Who was the other guy? So, that weird guy, that always doesn't shut up about maps.
Nah. Yes, Hugo Fisher.
No, not Hugo. That Gonzalo guy.
Oh, him. Okay. Well, thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate that. As a sort of I'm finishing up my conversation, I glance conspiratorially towards the chat and say, just between you and me, I hope you have a lovely dinner, but don't rely too heavily on the oysters. Some years ago, I was in the same position as you are now, and I had half a dozen oysters, and only 4 of them worked.
He sort of looks at you a bit confused at this. They're sort of running it through in his mind a bit, and you leave him with that sort of slight confused look on his face as the oysters are being served up to that table. You walk away, you're like, what does he mean? What does he mean? Like, Shirley O'Neill's cackling.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to really offend them, you understand?
Yeah, exactly. And as you walk back to your table, I'd very much like us to take a 5-minute break, if that's okay.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
I can make a cup of tea and we can reassess our brains.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The oysters have been served. Rudi's tea has been brought to him. It's a perfect time for a break.
It is a perfect time for a break.
Cool, right.
All right, see you in a bit.
See you all in 5 minutes, guys.
Lovely. See you in 5.
Let's put some music on. Close that off. Let's turn the sound off. And let's click on the intro. Where's that music? That can go up there. That to get our little pictures back. There's our little faces. Welcome back, everyone. We're here. As I was saying, I've actually got an actual wine glass because it's so classy. I'm being careful not to spill it on myself.
And I've got my wine mug.
The wine mug, exactly. And John is just a fine beverage of himself.
Of water.
The water. The wise man among us, quite frankly. So we left it with our heroes in the dining room aboard the SS Cannes. The sun has set. The oysters have been served. They're doing their bit. They're schmoozing. They're chatting. They're trying to find out who may have stolen the mythical, potentially powerful bracelet of Mary Magdalene from Tony's cabin. So, as the plates clank down and Rudi's cup of tea is placed in front of him, we shall return to the ship. The waiter looks to Rudi and says, "So, is this really all you want? Would you like me to get something else for you?"
No, that would be all. Thank you. Who was the antiques person, the one dealing with antiques?
Ahmed Hassan, who was sat at the table that you were booked to sit in, actually. So there's an empty seat for you there.
Well, naturally, Rudi would suspect him because if anyone would know could appreciate, the item would be someone who knows about antiques. But maybe, in any case, he's gonna sit next to him. We're all on the same table. So, my dear Hassan, I've heard you're dealing with antiques.
25 years now. I've had my humble shop in Casablanca. A bit of this and that, odds and ends, treasures from the east, humble pottery from local lands.
Oh yes, very, very interesting. And now you are traveling because of business or pleasure?
Business is pleasure. You're in a similar line of work to me. I've heard all about you. To be able to travel from land to land, scoping out ancient treasures is a joy.
It's a thrilling life filled with adventures and opportunities.
Definitely opportunities. Thankfully for me, fewer adventures than you, I believe, Mr. Otto. My life is boring compared to yours.
Can I sense motive on him or something?
You could roll an education for me, please.
Only one ace.
An ace.
+3, it's a 4.
Even if you say it as an ace, it's still a fail. He seems perfectly happy and genial and friendly. With that sort of role, you can't tell an undercurrent, an undertone.
What about you, sir? Is it Gonzalo?
You've got Manuel. I believe you've got Manuel Ruiz at your table, the businessman.
The businessman. Yes. How about you, Herr? Who is? Haven't heard from you all evening.
He sort of manages a thin, watery smile, and he says, "I'm afraid I've not been well. The sea does not sit well with me. Let's put it that way. And I've had to make myself scarce. I've spent much of the journey in my cabin or leaning over the side of the ship, I'm afraid."
Which number is your cabin?
I'm fortunate to have number 1. Now you would know that number 1, so 1, 5, 6, and 10 are the doubles, the larger suites. He's in it on his own.
What about number two, cabin number two? Do you know who lives there? Who
Um,
stays there?
Ahmed smiles and he says, "What? It's me. Number 2 is my cabin."
Who
And
says that?
that is Ahmed Hassan, the antiquity
The
dealer.
antiques dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I inquired him if he was at his cabins around the time that perhaps someone entered the Tony's room, because number 9 is next to is opposite to number 2. So perhaps if he was there, he might have heard or seen something.
He thinks, and he sort of pulls out his pocket watch. It's very ornately created pocket watch. It's obviously worth a lot of money. An old piece. And he sort of looks at it, and you can see it in his head. And he says, I was briefly in my cabin for a while, getting changed for this evening. But I have been in this room for 25 minutes now. I was one of the first ones in here, in fact.
So he says he wasn't around the time.
He says that, yeah, he was probably the first one in the dining room at that time, yeah.
What about you, good sir? Is the view enjoyable, Mr. Ruiz, Herr Ruiz, from your room at number...
Number 1. Number 1, he says, well,
Yes,
fortunately, I do have a lot of space to myself, which are very much needed. Most of my view has been of my sink, or at the sea, directly at the sea, in fact. I do apologise if I've kept either of you up at all with the sounds, but at least the day bar and the aft deck is nearby. I can pop out there for a touch of sun when my stomach is settled. He sort of nods at Mr. Hassan. He says, "We've had a few conversations over the cruise, and he did come into my cabin, I believe last night, was it, Mr. Hassan, where we enjoyed some tales of his homeland. He was very kind to visit me."
Wonderful, wonderful. Then, do you know perhaps who lives at number 10?
Number 10. Oh, yes, I certainly do. And Tony probably does as well, because the people that you're going to hear on a cruise are the honeymoon couple.
Yes.
It's Alex and Carla Lebert are in there.
Not Camilla and Jean. Alex.
Not John and Camille. No. Alex and Carla. Jean and Camille are in separate rooms, of course. I'm married. Very, very difficult to get a cabin together.
Really?
Think of the scandal in the film industry.
And I'm sure it's heavily policed, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Young French actor in shenanigans with beautiful young French actress. Think of the stories.
Well, I used to be young once. We all used to be. The fire of passion burns in a newlywed couple.
Oh, yes. Ahmed turns. Manuel doesn't appear to be too talkative. Ahmed turns to you, actually. Could you roll for me, Rudi, a history check?
Oh, my specialty. So education plus history.
Education plus history, please. Yeah.
So it's 5 plus only 1, 6.
Okay. I'm assuming Tony, have you returned to the table to eat?
Yes, I'm at the same table.
Maybe I have a reroll. You have a reroll?
He says, "Oh, do you, sir?" He smiles and he says, "The two of you are in antiques, but I feel like It's a shame that you never visited my shop in Casper. I could have offered you many, many fantastical items. It feels a shame that you came all this way, and I guess no one told you of me. I thought my shop was quite famous around.
We didn't stay in Casablanca long, didn't we, Tony?
It was just a place we passed through, I'm afraid. But what's the name of your shop then?
Well, I am Ahmed. It is Ahmed's Antiquities.
Indeed.
Many things. We have things from all around the Mediterranean. Many things. It's a shame. Maybe next time you're in our beautiful land, you can pop in and I can show you some things that will open your eyes.
Most certainly.
Well, it'd be a pleasure, of course.
Did you
always.
find anything of note in your travels at all?
Well, not what we set out for, but we discovered skullduggery.
Skullduggery, sir. Skullduggery. Oh, that sounds a trifle concerning.
Well, more than a trifle, I would say, for you gentlemen, because you, I'm afraid to tell you, are sharing your cruise ship with a thief.
Thief, sir. It's a thief. He sort of shuffles in. Could you roll?
I give a worried look to Tony, not being sure if he should say anything or not. But I'm not sure either. So
Yes,
I'll let it roll.
this is like pulling at those strings to see what happens. Could you roll, Tony, an education for me, please?
Yes, I can indeed.
Thank you.
That's 4 plus 4, 8.
Okay. It's mainly the education was because you've noticed that Manuel Ruiz doesn't appear to be taking part in this conversation. He's looking a little bit green around the gills again, and he's pushed his chair a little bit further away, and is looking towards the windows as you're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So Ahmed Hassan, it's like, a thief.
Yes, I mean, I'm afraid to report that my cabin was broken into this evening.
This evening?
And the whole place was turned upside down. Now, as I say, it's not a great concern for me. I didn't have anything valuable in there, but I imagine gentlemen such as yourselves, this must be a very real worry.
That's an outrage to Mr. Guerrero. I say, pretending that I wasn't aware of.
He sort of pauses and thinks, a bit shocked, and then he sort of says, "If you'll excuse me, gentlemen," and you see him get up and walk over to the bar,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of reach into his pocket, appear to be scribbling something, and then leaves it in front of the waiter, and then he vanishes out of the door. Out of the door.
The businessman.
That was the dealer in antiquities. Manuel is not paying any attention to this right now. He's lost in his own world of misery.
Seems like this, yeah.
And then within 30 seconds, while you're still sort of looking there, the waiter comes over with 2 glasses of cognac.
Careful, this could go anywhere.
Really good. It is the same waiter as before that knocked the table over. And he sort of eyes your trousers and very carefully, pronouncedly places them in the centre of the table, and hands Rudi a slip of paper which is folded in half, quite surreptitiously, sort of as he puts the cognac in front of you, sort of almost palms the paper towards you, nods and smiles at the both of you, sort of enjoy your oysters, sir, and walks back over to the bar.
I take the napkin, the piece of paper, and I wipe a little bit of sweat from my forehead, and then check if there is anything written on it or something.
What it says inside was, someone was asking about you. Meet me at the aft deck in 15 minutes.
I'll make sure that Tony gets a fast glance of the note, and then maybe I make it, a ball and throw it somewhere so they take care of it.
Okay.
In how many minutes, sorry, are we meeting?
15.
50. Okay.
The plot thickens, dear Tony.
It does. Interesting stuff.
Have you? What did you learn when you were away?
I received some information from our friendly, if rather distracted, shuffleboard actors. They were able to identify a few people who'd been moving up and down that companionway. Alex and Carla Lobert, but while that's true, it's not necessarily surprising given that their cabin is number 10. Gonzalo, who we haven't spoken with.
Ah, yes, the cartographer.
Indeed. And he might be worth mentioning. And apparently the American sisters, the O'Neill sisters. Now, I don't really know much about them beyond the fact that they seem very willing to put up with old men, so we should be reasonably able to speak with them at our leisure.
Well, as for my investigation, Mr. Hassan would be could be considered a suspect because he would be the only one who would be able to identify and sell that item as an antique dealer. But we shouldn't just keep that in mind. But I couldn't actually catch his vibe that easily. Mr. Herr Ruiz is close to himself, a hard man to read also. And they say that the newlywed couple has been very active sexually. Have you? Let me cross that with you. Are they actually making noise when they are sleeping next to you?
I don't believe sleeping is what they've been doing at all.
All right then.
Truthfully, I'm moderately impressed with their stamina.
All right then. I was just cross information. No, I don't care about the details.
Just don't do an agility check against them. You will fail.
Perhaps then I should use my charisma to the American sisters, and you take care of the cartographer next.
I think
by take care, I mean inquire and ask around.
I think that seems like a good thing to do. And if the American sisters are hanging around with that colonel, it might be worth speaking with him as well, because if he's got any honor and decency, he might actually be willing to help us ferret out information. You never know.
As you're conversing, people are finishing up their starter, and you're noticing that people are popping off outside, sort of opening up their cigarette cases. Obviously, going for a smoke between courses Some are taking a wine with them out. They're sort of spilling out outside the dining room to the front. There's a space, so some are spilling out there. Some to the sides to lean over. The American girls, the sisters skip past, and you hear Shirley say to Stella, "Come on, let's go to the lounge bar. The moon is beautiful. We've got 5 minutes before we can get another drink up there quickly." So they vanish past you, and the room pretty much clears out except for the colonel, who's sort of wobbling a bit at his table, and the elderly couple, who are stuck listening to him. The wife appears to sort of be almost nodding herself to sleep a little bit, and the husband's trying to be polite. But apart from that, the room has pretty much cleared out.
So, where can I find the cartographer? Gonzalo Arando?
Gonzalo Arando is not in the room. You weren't paying particular attention to him, but it's it's worth popping out and having a look, I guess.
Yeah, I'll go and do a quick survey. If Rudy's following the sisters and they're heading upstairs, I shall head aft, please. Wander down the companionway towards the aft deck and see if I can catch sight of Arondo.
Okay, so if I'm putting a countdown into the note, you've probably still got about 10 minutes before your arranged meeting time. Still plenty of time. As you leave the dining room, you don't need to go down the companion way, because pretty much outside, leaning over the bow, as you come out the dining room door with the shuffleboard in front of you, to your left, you do see Gonzalo Arando leaning over the side of the ship, smoking out into space, I guess. Quite casually, cross-legged, leaning against it, looking very relaxed with himself.
Okay, then I shall join him up on the rail, and also take out a cigarette and light it, and bid him a good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Guerrero. How are you?
Good and bad, I think it's fair to say. The good includes the fact that I'm on a ship in the Mediterranean on a fairly warm evening with a fresh breeze coming in over the bows, surrounded by seemingly lovely people, having nice conversations, good food, and occasionally drinking some of the alcohol before it's thrown at me.
He sort of looks, his eyes are drawn to your crotch, as many eyes are, to be honest.
I find it's even better when drunk rather than pelted, but still, it's not been universally good news.
Oh.
Yes, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but my cabin was broken into this evening.
Roll a... let's do a charisma check, please. Against him, against the guy. So his opposed roll, highest wins with ties re-rolled.
That's not great. That's a 6. 3 plus 3.
Okay, we need to re-roll, please.
Rollies.
Rollies.
That's an 8. 5 plus 3.
Okie dokie. He looks shocked, I guess. He sort of leans in a bit closer to you. He's like, "Your cabin was broken into?
Mm-hmm.
Just now? Earlier today?"
Yes, recently, just before dinner, really. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm in number 9. Which cabin are you in, sir? I'm wondering if you might have seen anything.
He sort of mumbles a bit quickly. I'm in B2.
Ah, yes.
I don't frequent your ways. I've only ever walked past it on the way to the day bar, so day bar.
And were you up on the weather deck before dinner? Is there any chance you saw anything?
I wasn't. I was down in my room. I was chatting with. There's a couple of crew that are quite well travelled. I was getting some of their input for one of my maps that I'm working on at the minute. Very interesting. He's got some sketches in his quarters that he's invited me to go to later this evening. Actually, I hope that's what he's invited me for. Yes, I was down there, and then I came up just in time. That young couple were playing shuffleboard. I went straight past those and into the dining room. Broken into, you say?
Yes. I mean, thankfully, I wasn't travelling with anything particularly valuable, but it's still unsettling. And they destroyed a pair of trousers that I'm very attached to.
2 pairs of trousers? 2 pairs of trousers? What are you going to wear tomorrow?
Truthfully, I shudder to think.
He sort of he snorts out a bit of a plume of his smoke, and I'm going to pause you there for a minute because there's a little moment of happiness as you hear Rudi huffing his way up the stairs. You're following the sisters, right, Rudi? Rudi?
Yes, slowly and steadily using my cane. And I approach them and I say,
You approach one. You approach one. Only Shirley is there, after all.
Okay. Mrs. O'Neill, can I...
Oh, please, miss. Miss. Definitely miss. And she smiles at you.
Miss O'Neill, can I... A bit of your time,
Sure.
dear Fräulein.
Of course. For such a gentleman, of course, you can have... I would give you many minutes if dinner was not about to be served.
There is, yes, likewise, but there is a quick message I would like to relay to you, and you should pass it on to your sister. There is, Mr. Guerrero, number 9, his room has been, there seems to be some kind of intruder that has entered his room.
An intruder?
Yes.
Oh, man. That's just down from us. I don't like the sound of intruders on the ship. Oh man.
Yes, you should inform your sister and lock the doors tonight.
We always do. You can never be too careful. Except the first night when we were both so drunk, I think we left the door wide open. But apart from that, yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Otto. We'll definitely do that.
Does her reaction seem genuine?
Roll for me, I guess it's a charisma, I guess. Well,
Oh no, another ace. It's a total of 5.
from what you
Man,
can
I just have rolled 3 aces in a row. What?
your luck
I
needs
should be dead in Dungeons and Dragons with 3 aces in a row.
your luck needs to change at some point. Your previous meetings with Americans in the past, you've learned that they can appear very earnest and friendly even if they're not. She seems legit, but from what you can tell, you can't read her well enough, I guess. Seems okay.
Once again, maybe he's losing his stats.
She looks down at your cane. Says, it's a nice cane, Mr. Otto. I heard you used to be a boxer.
Yes, of course. And although as much as I want to tell you all about my career, I should probably be going. There is... I need to visit the bathroom. I say, apologies. Entschuldigung.
Not at all. She smiles at you, and then you can see her approaching the bar to grab a little short drink as you leave.
Okay, I think it's about time for that secret meetup.
Okie dokie. So we'll cut. So you're going to head there, and I think that probably about fits. Back to Tony. You as he sort of finishes blowing out his smoke, he sort of flicks the cigarette into the sea. A bit of a Mediterranean littering always goes down well, doesn't it? And he says, "If you'll excuse me, I just need to grab something from my cabin. Maybe we'll speak inside." and he sort of bids you, and then he goes back to the stairs, and seems to be heading downstairs, from what you can tell.
Okay. Then yes, I will make my way aft towards the aft deck. A quick glance to see if the cabins on my side, on the starboard side of the ship, are unlit effectively. If everybody is out and about.
Yeah, everything's dark down your side.
Okay. Then I shall make my way down and past the day bar and peer through the window if I can there to see if there's anyone inside the day bar.
So the day bar, they very much close up, which is why you went to the lounge bar, I guess, in the evening. They sort of close that up at about just at the start of sunset. So it's all locked down. From what you can tell, the curtains are pulled. There's through the cracks in the window, you can see a couple of staff, cleaning up, finishing up, cleaning some glasses, putting the tables ready for the morning. But you've seen the same sight for the last 3 days.
Okay. Then I shall wander down past the day bar and meander out into the open space of the aft deck.
Okie dokie. As you meander, you hear the tap, tap, tap that you've learnt to love over this last week of Rudi's cane on the ship behind you, on the walkway behind you. And he's only a metre or two behind you as you reach the end of the day bar. Right at the corner, if you can see, there's a little entranceway into stairs down, which is very much for crew stairs. Passengers don't use it because you're literally going down to the crew cabins and things like that.
That is a rendezvous point.
Yeah, and it's up at the back of the aft deck was the rendezvous point. As you get there, Tony, you turn the corner and you see Ahmed Hassan there. His chest covered in blood, a knife sticking out of it, flat on his back in the middle of the aft deck.
Oh.
I'm going to run over and take his pulse on his neck if I can.
Okie dokie, roll for me. Education, please.
Education. Not terrible. That's 8 total.
Okay. Ahmed Hassan spares the dealer in antiquities that have made a was going to meet because he said he had someone had been asking him about them. He's dead, and with that check, Tony can tell he is dead.
I'm going to immediately yell out at the top of my lungs, "Help! Help! Murder!"
He said it.
Murder! Coming and take it out as well.
To make it at least carry as far as the day bar.
Okie dokie.
Oh no, it's Hack Hassan. I do check on the body as well to figure out anything can be figured out.
Ah, nice. Are we keeping it to what
Education?
you can see? Yes. Are we keeping it to what you can see, or are you rifling?
I'm not sure what rifling is.
Like going through his pockets. Are you like looking at him and checking him out, or are you like taking a closer look? I guess.
Okay. I will go through him, but also like check his pulse, investigate without removing the murder weapon. Is it the knife?
Yep.
You said.
Yes, a knife.
I'm doing a full search, so even if he sees me, I'm not doing it like suspiciously because I'm investigating the dead body right now.
Yes, of course.
So education, right?
Yes, please, education, and that will be all for you. Yes, please, education.
Okay, that's an improvement. That's a 2. So,
Get there little by little.
5 total.
Okay, let me think what we can get with 5. Okay. as far as you can tell, he is indeed dead. You can't feel a pulse either. You could to start with, but then you realise that you were checking with your thumb, which has its own pulse, and in your excitement. And then you
Actually, can I ask the GM something?
Yeah.
I'm a bit confused. Weren't we supposed to meet a waiter here? Did the waiter know something?
The
No, we're
waiter
supposed to meet Hassan here.
the waiter gave the note from Hassan.
Okay. I got a little bit confused. I thought it was
The
a waiter.
waiter. I see.
And to be fair, we have met Hassan here.
yeah, Hassan's there. He was there.
He's exactly where he promised he would be. Yeah.
He fulfilled
Yes,
his
he's not
promise.
late or anything.
What you can see next to him is what you can tell there is a by his hand, not in his hand, there is like a travel ashtray. He's obviously a bit more caring than Gonzalo is about flicking rubbish. So he's got a portable ashtray. He's got and next to it there's a still lit cigarette, which is burning down. And next to that, there's a cigarette packet of a Spanish brand.
Mm-hmm.
Have we seen Hassan smoking before?
You have.
Okay.
It's the 30s. So pretty much everyone
is
is.
he smoking the same brand found here?
He's on a 5. I can't tell you that. If that makes sense. You can tell he's a smoke. You can tell he's a smoker. You've seen him smoking. Tony's chatted with him while smoking. You've seen him nodded, smiled. As smokers do.
Okay, I'm gonna. Actually, I say to Tony, he seems to be thinking and worried. He's trying to come up with something. He says, maybe one of us should leave this room while everybody's coming to check out what happened, because I reckon the murderer won't return to the crime scene this early, so he must be, or she must be, anywhere else.
It's a good plan. Go. I yelled out for help, so they're expecting to find me here.
Yes, of course. I will go as swiftly as I can. Sehr schnell. But I start going very slowly.
Are you taking the walkway to the north, the south of the day bar?
Good question. If I just murder someone, where would I hide? Probably to, the B area. Somewhere around the B area, probably.
Oh, the B area. So you're heading. So is that where you're going to head
downstairs,
to?
right?
Yep. Okie dokie.
Kitchen, crew. Yeah, this deck.
Okie dokie. Are you going through the main stairs or through the staff stairs at the back?
I guess the murderer would have used the back stairs. And also, while moving and going downstairs, I will check if there is any signs of blood spilled in the anywhere else, basically.
Oh, very good. I'm glad you've gone that way because I can bring up the map that actually has the. We lose the numbers. I do apologise, but you know where the numbers are now. There we go. We've got a bit of downstairs for you in red. Mm-hmm. You head down the stairs, looking for blood. Could you roll an education, please?
6. That's a 6 finally.
As
3, that's a 9.
Oh, nice. So as you hobble down, you do notice something that looks the dark and stickiness of blood on a white rag that's sort of been. It could have been thrown. It could have been dropped. It could have fallen out of something on the side of the walkway.
I'm guessing someone find it and wipe the blood off themselves. Is anybody around?
So as you come down into the bottom bit, you come out in that bottom left-hand corner of the bottom level, and it's crew cabins, all along tiny little crew cabins for these poor crew that are dressed so nicely for you. As you get down there is no one there. You can just about hear the shouting of people arriving to Tony. Are you going to make your way forwards? It's empty at the minute. You heading forwards?
I'm going slowly, obviously, because I cannot really go any faster, but I'm also checking thoroughly every cabinet, any door that's open,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe yanking with my cane on each door to see if anyone is unlocked, and if it is unlocked, taking a good glance inside before I go to the next one.
Okay. So as you go, the first 4 are all locked. The 5th one along, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is open. Inside there is a crew member who appears to be sleeping. It's tight and there's bunk beds. It seems to be like they almost have to like share their cabin. Maybe one's on shift and the other one's off shift at any one time. So he's fast asleep.
Is it possible that the person sleeping would not be able to hear Tony's screaming murder, murder?
He appears to be very, very asleep. And
that's the same thing to me, maybe.
The sound of screaming as you've come away from the stairs with the door slamming shut is quieter the further you walk down the ship. He appears asleep, from what you can tell.
Okay, moving on to the next doors. Maybe I will come back to the sleeping person. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, the next couple are empty. Opposite, there's what's called the safe room. You know there is a safe room because when you get on board the ship, the captain told you all that if you have any really expensive jewellery, they will take it down to the safe room for you.
Interesting.
And they can ask it. But that is locked, as you would expect. It is a big door. It is locked.
Yes.
The next door along from there is the engineer's room. So you've got the first engineer, the second engineer. It's a bigger cabin. They share it. They sort of take shifts. That is also locked. One of the other cabins is open and appears to be totally empty. All the others. So you've got one cabin with a sleeping person, one empty cabin. The captain's cabin. The captain shares it with the first mate. That is definitely locked.
So that leaves me the mess hall, the lockers.
Yep, and then you're out into regular ship.
Okay, the mess hall, by the way, out of character, is the place where they eat or something.
Yeah, it's where they'll eat, they'll chill out, they'll hang out, they'll grumble about you guys.
The crew mess
is
will
that,
be a lounge.
Is that also a Star Trek reference? Didn't they used to say mess hall something?
Yes, it's common.
Oh, it's then forward in TNG, yeah. Anyway, lockers.
Yep. So lockers are staff lockers. It's where they leave their stuff. So if they need to throw on a jacket, they're in the mess. They need to serve.
Is there maybe anything? Maybe anyone is bloodied? Any signs of blood? Even a little one?
That's a good choice. I'll tell you what, roll for me an education, please.
3 + 3 = 6.
3 + 3 = 6. Okay. It's Ben's half. He has to drink. Good choice. With that, you notice that the lockers are not locked. They're more wooden affairs that they pull. So you pull a couple open, and you see that there's some a couple of waistcoats and jackets. Some of their finery that they'll throw on before they come out to serve you. The odd pair of white gloves. They're generally well hung up. What can I give you for that? In one of the lockers, instead of it being hung up, it's sort of bundled into the bottom. There appears to be a jacket and a pair of gloves and a waistcoat just bundled in to the locker. The locker one's gone, Fiddy, unfortunately, I think.
Underneath the coat and the stuff?
I need you then to roll for me an education, please. One more education roll, please.
And that's 6. So if there is something to be found here, I should find by now.
So 6 + 3, yes. What you find bundled up. So in the bundle, is the finery jacket, a waistcoat, the waistcoat with the gold buttons on it, and then gloves, the white gloves. And as you pull them out, you notice that on one of the cuffs of the white gloves, there does appear to be a little fleck of dark red.
Like blood.
It's that sort of colour and consistency from what you can tell.
I'm tasting it. I'm discussing enough to taste it.
It's tasty.
If it is sauce,
Well, I'll tell you what, and this is what I'm going to do for you, Rudi. As a former boxer, I'm going to let you roll your education with your fighting because you know the taste of blood.
Good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Then I think
So you can have
even
5
with
to your
a
roll.
2, even with a 2, it's a massive. Actually, it's education plus boxing 5, 7.
7. With the way I'd set it, I'd set a 7 as yes. It is.
All right.
It is blood. It is blood.
All right. What's the name of whose locker is it?
The locker. There's a little printed label on it, and the name is Philippe.
Philippe, just Philippe.
So Phillippe. Philippe Macron.
Okay.
But of course it is.
Yeah, an ancestor.
I'm not getting the reference.
The French president is Macron.
Okay. I was thinking of NPCs. Very interesting. So, okay, I'm gonna head back to Tony, but first I'm gonna go through the mess hall to see if there is anything there.
Well, as you go through the mess hall, it won't be you walking back to Tony under your own volition, because there are 3 crew in there that look up at you and say, "Hey, sir, I'm sorry, this is not for you. Please, can you leave our area and return to the guest areas, please?"
Well, I pretend to be drunk and sing. Sing some famous song at the time, and he goes, "Yes."
Well,
to the dining room.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do a charisma check and a post charisma check. You can get your +4 for charisma, and you can get an extra +2 if you actually sing a song.
Okay, it's a 3, and
So you'll need it.
he says, "Gling, glatken, gling, 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 glatken, gling."
You catch one of them kind of roll his eyes before getting the professionalism back, and the other one stands up and says, "Come on, sir," and that 2 of them get one either side of you. Like putting their arms on your shoulders.
Pretty big.
Yeah, exactly. And unlock that door on the top to the right of the mess hall, back to the main stairs,
right.
and they take you out of there, and they say, Mr. Otto, you're upstairs. Let's put you to bed. Hey, Lereg Zevius. Nice first time chat. How you doing? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us this evening. You join us just as our favourite man sings our favourite song. Can someone
maybe
click
ask
that, please?
them? I tell them, do you know? Philippe Macron. Is he one of you, perhaps, gentlemen?
They sort of trying to sort of humour you as they drag you through the door and start. You ask them as they're sort of bringing you up the stairs to the deck, and they say, "Philippe, we know Philippe. We know Philippe. He's been very upset all day because but he's been very upset. He came down half an hour ago because he spilt wine on your friend's trousers."
It's him.
Prime suspect number 1.
New mission. He's going over the side.
He's sleeping with the sharks.
Exactly.
Let's throw him in the water.
They drag you up and down the side, and they're sort of saying. One of them is sort of doing their reaching into your pocket for your key. It's a usual thing that if someone's very drunk, they'll sort of let you into your room to sleep it off, kind of thing. That's what they're assuming. So they start feeling around in the pocket for the key, and just as they're doing that, they hear the uproar. I guess some screaming from the women. Some sort of from the aft deck, and they almost drop you in their haste. Could you roll an agility for me, please, Rudi?
That's right. A total of 3.
As they sort of drop you, you do fall to the deck. The cane skids out from underneath you, and you're left in a heap as they run off to the front, forgetting their customer service.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I don't mind that. Get myself up and. I should join with Tony before I do anything else, I reckon. So I go all the way around back to the aft deck.
Okay. While you've been doing all that, speaking of Tony, you're stood there with the body, and the door at the back of the day bar bursts open, and 3 members of staff come bundling out to you, wide-eyed, looking around. And they see you, and they say, Mr. Guerrero, what? And then they look down. Oh, that's Mr. Hassan.
Used to be. He's been murdered.
By someone on this ship? Oh my. And one of them shouts, one of them sort of scurries off, I guess to find someone superior would be your guess. Mm-hmm. And 2 are stood there, sort of patting at the arms, trying to do things, as if they think he might still be alive. There might be something they can do, I guess. The first member of the passengers to turn up is where are they gone? Is actually Manuel Ruiz.
Okay.
It's potentially more because he was coming to puke, but he is the first one there. And he stumbles around the corner. He's like, "What's this noise?" And he sort of gasps. And he looks at you. He's like, "Mr. Guerrero,
I'm afraid our friend has been brutally and savagely murdered."
But we were just talking to him like 15 minutes ago.
Yes, because 15 minutes ago he hadn't been brutally and savagely murdered.
Wow. And he leans over the side and pukes all down the side of the ship. Sort of catching sight, that gets that first whiff of the body, and he pukes, and he sort of comes back again, wipes his mouth with his sleeve, and then leans straight back over and pukes again. As he's puking, you get the steady run of people now. You get Jean and Camille turn up. You get Stella O'Neill, the one that wasn't up at the top, arrives first out of the 2 sisters. And then you get the Le Bears, and a crowd forms around as the crew start barging through. And the captain enters the scene. The first time you've seen him for the day. And it is, bear with me a second. It is Captain Loris, Loris.
Explaining why he was so slow.
Exactly. The slow Loris.
Okay.
What's going on here? Who was first on the scene?
I was first on the scene.
Mr. Guerrero, how long ago did you get here?
Moments. I came round to have a quiet smoke over the rear of the ship, and I found Mr. Hassan lying exactly as you see him, stabbed, and as it turns out, dead. I quickly checked for a pulse, you understand.
Oh. He sort of looks down and he calls over a couple of the serving staff and sort of gets them. They bring in sort of blankets and covers and things and that. And he's like, oh, and there's no doctor. There's no doctor on the ship. I guess we don't need someone to pronounce him dead, but still, oh, this is terrible. And they sort of cover up over his face. The crew check again just to make sure, and people can generally check a pulse.
Captain, may I suggest we should quickly check his pockets in case he was robbed?
Oh, yes.
Given that earlier this evening my cabin was broken into, I'm concerned there may be a thief aboard. And of the many crimes that have been committed on board this ship, I'm beginning to think that this one is even worse than the person who broke into my cabin and ruined my trousers.
It's close, but...
My favourite trousers.
Favourite trousers, sir. Mr. Guerrero, I'm sorry.
I think we need to check and make sure he still has his possessions.
Of course. And he reaches down, gets onto his knees and pats down his trouser pockets and his shirt pocket and his waistcoat pockets, jacket pockets, all the pockets.
All of the pockets.
All of the pockets. And he pulls out a small box of matches. He pulls out the man's wallet. He pulls out a small tin, which he opens up, which appears to be like business cards. Mm-hmm. He pulls out a small pot, which appears to be he's an old-fashioned man. He's still got some snuff on him, or something that looks like snuff at least. There's a couple of crumpled up bits of paper in there, which the captain just leaves crumpled up on the deck. A few coins, a few Moroccan coins, and his key, the key to his room.
Okay, I'm going to speak to the captain in the hope that I can get him to look at my face while I simultaneously reach down and pick up the small crumpled piece of paper.
I believe. Oh, I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you as a special treat.
A special treat. You're getting him to look at your face, so I think that's more of a charisma thing. A bit of a smile and a wink. This feels quite daring do-y to me. Oh, I think it does.
It does. With your newfound fame.
Yeah.
So give me a charisma with your daring do to see if
charisma with daring do. Yeah. Okay.
And we'll do this. This is a challenge. This is a contested roll.
This is 3 plus 1 plus. Okay.
Yep. And he's rolling with a flat that with his charisma.
Okay. That's 3 plus 1 plus 5, so a total of 9.
Oh well, you've done him because he's 4 plus 1, so you're absolutely fine on that. He's sort of caught up briefly in the majesty of your face as you're talking.
So what I actually say to him as I'm doing this is, well, it appears therefore he wasn't murdered for his possessions.
No.
Which means he was murdered for something else.
You can see his sort of, as he's looking at your eyes, his mind starts racing, which is when you manage to pick up which you wish to pick up.
Okay, I'm just going to tuck it in my pocket for the time being.
Okie dokie.
And say to the captain, we need to send a message to Marseille to inform them that there's been a murder aboard. And importantly, we need to inform them that therefore we will not be docking. They can send out a launch with some police aboard.
Of course, Mr. Guerrero, that makes perfect sense. We weren't due to dock till 6 o'clock tomorrow. I will make sure that my staff are doubled up, and we'll keep things very well lit. We'll keep things very much locked down, and we will keep a close. Of course, people still need to eat. We want to keep the drinks going, but we'll make sure that there are fewer darker corners, if that makes sense.
I might suggest also that it would be worth sending a steward to each stateroom to search for anything that looks out of place. I mention this in particular because there is an item that he had in his possession that he described to me, and I don't know if he had it on him, you understand. But it might be worth searching his stateroom to find out if it's there, and taking a look in the staterooms of the other passengers and crew to find out if anyone is hiding it on their person. Because if he had it on him this evening, there's your murderer.
He leans in and says, what does this item look like, Mr. Guerrero?
Captain, I have been nothing but forthright with you, and this is the moment where I have to change that policy, because I don't know where you were seconds before this man was stabbed.
Charisma, please.
Oh, that's not so good. That's a 5 total.
Yeah, you have lost. It's a 7 for him. Oh, Fitz, thank you for the gift. That is a lovely thing for...
Thank you.
They're doomed. They're doomed now to being a subscriber. He sort of frowns at you and he says, I, sir, was at the wheel, as numerous people could attest, doing my job for the last 5 hours. If you want my support in this, which I am willing to give, given your history and your past, I need to know the information for this.
I'm going to take a punt and ask to speak with the captain privately to discuss it.
He'll say, very well. I tell you what, I'll come with you to your cabin, and then you can show me the mess as well. We'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Okay.
And he sort of
So
waves
I'll
his
walk
underlings
with
to do what needs to be done.
Yep, I will walk with him down to number 9 then.
As you walk with him to number 9, that is when Rudi has hobbled his way to number 9, like cursing his luck and the 2 men in front of him.
Dear God.
The captain looks at you. Mr. Otto, are you okay?
Oh.
You look injured.
Captain, didn't expect to see you here. I guess you are well aware of what happened. A man has died tonight.
I know, a dreadful thing. Myself and Mr. Guerrero were talking about the next measures. You're Mr. Guerrero's good friend. Would you like to join this conversation that we're about to have, Mr. Guerrero?
Please.
And he sort of...
Mr. Guerrero, he's thinking a bit and says, what were you going to say to the captain?
I was going to give him a description of an item that I believed might have been in the possession of Mr. Hassan this evening. And therefore, if it could be located on the ship, that might give some clue as to the identity of the criminal.
Very well, then proceed. I choose to withhold my information I have. Perhaps it's relevant, perhaps it's not. Let's see what the captain has to say first.
Okay.
That's what Rudi is thinking.
All right. Well, having got that, I will decide to give the description of the real item as opposed to a fake one that I would have happily slipped in at that moment. You know, it would have been a mother of pearl cigarette lighter. But instead, having had the opportunity to get the nod from Rudi, I'm going to trust the captain, at least in the short term, and tell him that the item in question did not belong to Mr. Hassan. And it is possible that the same person who robbed my cabin also killed the murder victim. And I'm not going to tell him what it actually is, but I'm going to give him enough of a description of physical description of it.
Yes.
to be able to identify it.
Okay. He nods sagely as captains do it from time to time, and as he starts to respond, he's like, "This is good. I will be vaguer with my crew, but if they come back with anything of that matches that description, then of course I will speak with you." And as he's discussing that, you hear a female gasp from outside your door, and then feet running away from outside your door.
Running in which direction?
Front of ship.
Okay. Then I'm going to leap to the door, pull it open, and immediately check who's running down the companionway.
From what you can tell, it is one of the American sisters who is running up and around to the left, as if towards the stairs, maybe.
As if she's heading towards the lounge bar, or
You can tell she's going to the stairs from as far as you can tell.
then in that case, I'm in pursuit.
Okie dokie. Roll for me a agility and daring do.
Agility and daring do. Daring do is turning out to be a good thing to have. I'm glad I have some daring do now.
Yeah.
It's the new you.
Okay, that's 5 plus 1 for daring do, but sadly it's also plus 1 for agility, so total of 7.
Okay, 7. So 7, a standard 7 in those dark places is a success, but it's like a tainted success.
Mm-hmm.
So you take flight after her, but it sounds like she's realised you're chasing and has sped up. And
which of the sisters is it, by the way?
It is hard to tell at this point. They're very similar from the back. She reaches the stairs. It sounds like she's going upstairs.
I am in pursuit.
Okie dokie. You head upstairs. I'm not going to make you roll it. There's very few places she can go when she gets up there. And you rush up to the top. You're probably probably about 5 seconds behind her. And as you get to the top of the stairs, you hear a loud bang. And you hear her scream just as you're reaching the top of the stairs. You can't yet see the lounge bar.
Okay. Daring do is now my middle name. I'm pressing on.
Okie dokie. I'll tell you what then. Let's do it. Agility and daring do. Let's see how well you're bursting into this room.
3 plus 1 plus 1. 5.
3 plus 1 plus 1, 5. Okay. You burst in through the door. You see the doors across from you that overlook the moon deck, wide open, and in the middle of an otherwise deserted lounge bar, because of course all the crew have gone to the back of the ship, the aft of ship,
Mm-hmm.
the aft end. You see the body of Shirley O'Neill.
Shirley O'Neill. Can I quickly confirm that is the woman I saw running? It is that woman's dress.
Yes, Shirley O'Neill's dress.
Okay.
It is satin and silk flounces, as Socks has said.
Okay. So, I'm going to run over and quickly look around to see who the hell could have, shot her.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm reading the map right, I've come up through the only door into the lounge bar that's at the stairs.
Yeah.
And then if you go out through the doors onto the moon deck,
Yeah.
there aren't any stairs down from that, but presumably there's a balcony overhang.
Yeah. That is correct.
So I'm going to basically vault the the prostrate sister,
Okay, oh no. Okay.
and go running to the balcony outside and see if I can look over and see anyone climbing down or anything like that.
Okay, you burst. You let's do some agility and daring do rolls to see how quickly you can manage this.
Agility is not my strong suit.
But luckily, you've got some daring do.
That's a total of 4, all added together.
Okie dokie, that's going to affect something. And could you do a? So you vault over her badly. You take a little stumble. You're feeling very daring, just not very agile. You sort of drag yourself up to the feet and you burst through the back doors. Roll an education for me, please.
Yes. You see, now it works. That's a 6 plus 4, 10.
10. There's no one on the top deck, so you said you wanted to look over.
Yep.
Roll another education for me, please.
3 plus 4, 7.
Okay. You look down, and there appears to be no one directly below. It is a drop that someone could do, but
Yep.
you cannot see someone there.
All right.
All that is upstairs in the lounge bar is you and Shirley O'Neill.
Okay. Now, presumably, I'm looking over a little bit of the aft deck. Sorry, the forward deck.
Yeah, the forward deck, yeah.
Yep. But most of the ship is well behind me at this point.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Then I'm going to, this time, walk over and check for a pulse once again.
Okay. She's alive, and you can tell she's alive because she's gasping and kind of crying.
Where's the bullet wound?
The bullet wound is, again, right in her, just below her lungs. So it's not a sucking chest wound. It's a horrible high intestines sort of.
Right, okay. So pressure is key. I'm going to put my hands pressing down on it firmly and yell as loud as I can, "Help! Attempted murder this time!"
you're like the albatross. You're the bringer of bad news to everyone. People are going to get suspicious. You're always first on the scene, Tony. As you shout, the first thing you hear is the obvious click clank of Rudi's cane coming up. Because he was the first one there. He was the one closest, leading the way. Probably soon to be overtaken, bless him. But as he's approaching,
yeah, I'm gonna straight go to help her, stop the bleeding.
So as
Maybe
you
use my education to remove the bullet wound or some of the bullets from inside the wound.
fantastic. So as you get there, you turn up into the room to see this sight of Tony, his hands pushed down, sort of over the wound to try and put the pressure on. His hands and his forearms are now sort of soaked in blood. His shirt is like it's a white shirt, isn't it? It's sort of, white shirt. Cotton shirt is now sort of blooded up to his elbows. He's sort of gasping, sort of pleading with her to sort of hold on, and that. This is the sort you come to. She's sort of gasping and sort of struggling to speak as you come in. So you say you want to try and get involved, Rudi?
Yes.
Okay, could you do a... you've got no medical. I'll tell you what I'll give you. I will give you a... The first thing I'll give you is education. And I will give you... that's it, I'm afraid. I was trying to think if I can make you use something else. Just education, please.
4 plus 3, 7.
7. Okay. You get over, you sort of nudge Tony to sort of see if you can get at the wound. It's very bloody by now. You can see you can just about see where the gunshot wound is. It's potentially beyond your skills. And she's gasping and trying to say something to you. Where's my sister? Where's my sister?
It's a bloody good question.
Please, I need my sister. I know who That the bracelet. Can you both roll a strength check, please, for the pressure? I guess.
Yes.
Oops. 3 total.
4 total.
Oh no!
A
You're pushing.
combined of 7.
Rudy sort of with his hands were sort of covering with blood, and she's like, seems to be sort of zoning in and out a bit with her thinking. So my sister, where is my sister? You're hearing the first sound of footsteps on the bottom of the stairs.
I'm going to try and ask her a question. I'm going to do so very calmly and just treat it as a thing. Say, I'll find your sister. I promise. But you have to tell us about the bracelet.
Roll a charisma. I want you to roll a charisma. Rudy, roll a strength, please.
Okay.
4.
That's 8 total.
Okay. Have her eyes sort of a closing as she says it, and she's like, the bracelet. He's got it. That man. And she stops talking at that point, and any tensing in her body seems to relax.
I look up at Rudi and I say, 4 tragedies.
Indeed.
Okay. I sort of sit back on my haunches, and wait for help to arrive.
And as the two of you are sat there, you've leant back onto your knees, your haunches, blood over your arms, the body of the dead girl on the ground, the thundering of footsteps on the stairs coming up. We will pan away up into the ceiling, and we'll fade out for this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Yes, so there will be a part 2 for this one.
Sorry about that.
Don't be sorry about that. That's great.
It's a whodunit with murder. Murder.
Yes, apologies, but it's over 4 a.m. here.
Exactly,
so-
it's very, and it's late here as well. So
Fully aware.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you so much, everybody in chat. Thank you, John.
yeah,
That
thank you,
was
John, for
enormous
staying
fun.
up so late. Well
And
done,
of
man.
course, thank you grudgingly to Luke, who has ruined
Yes.
my first and second best pair of trousers, my 4th favourite shirt, destroyed all of my alcohol.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And murdered a couple of people, but that's not the big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, it's the clothes that are important. Anyway, let's finish up quickly so we can let John get to bed.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Fids. Yeah, I agree. I'd like that. Thank you, Spares. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, anyone else that's around. Really appreciate it. We'll see you all soon. We'll do Spooky Sunday tomorrow night, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Oh, John, you're a legend. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Been
Thank you.
great.
Okay.
Good game, everyone.
Good game. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.